An explosion of Rescue Ace actually takes me back here, and we see, well, maybe it's not too late to pick up this deck. A big 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. We're going to be specifically focusing in on here some of the impact of Rescue Ace and talking about the prices and how it's still 100% doable to actually make sure you have this deck, because a lot of people they get very scared when it comes to these sorts of things, or they're like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know, and then they get all upsetty spaghetti out here when you see a couple months down the line, you're like, oh my gosh, where'd that come from? So this meta report is going to be including Duelist of Explosion, and it's also going to have the new Camellia promo as well. But the first thing you're going to notice here is Rescue Ace had 10% of the overall representation out of the OCG metagame. That's crazy. Now, out of these builds, there were 22 Rescue Ace, and then 1 Infernoble Knight Rescue Ace being counted in for this. Now, remember, the OCG still has to deal with Purely being a big pain in the butt out here, which is kind of interesting, all things considered. They don't have the same restrictions that we do. Runic had 20 variations out here, an 8.7 representation. Even with 2 Fountain, this deck gonna get destroyed at some point. Like, it's been pretty bad. We got 19 branded out here, and of course, they get to play the 8 people got to play the grass variant, which is just crazy to me. Mathmech with Triple Circular also took up 7.4% of the meta. That's disgusting. Adamancipator, aka Grass Super Heavy Samurai, Ishizu Vernal Sylph Adamancipator. Gosh, say that 10 times fast. Block Dragon is a very real card. It also appears that Tears representation got pushed down here to 15, so it got tied with Adamancipator. And then Kashtira also dialed back Super Heavy, Vanquish Soul, and Dragon Link. All right, and then a lot of piles, as you can see here, even all the way down to Valence. So what's going on with Rescue Ace? So we're going to talk about this. So Albert W. here went 7-2 and finished 4th at Duelist Cup 2023 Indonesia, which had 120 participants. Rescue Ace can disable your opponent's X Purely Nor using Rescue Ace Impulse, as written in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card database. Impulse effect, an effect that is applied to both players. Thus, even when a monster that is unaffected by the effects of that selected monster's effect cannot be activated this turn. That way, the opponent would respond to with Nor effect by targeting Impulse, but Rescue Impulse effect could be activated in a chain to attribute itself as a cost, and then, special summon from the deck. Oh man, that's actually disgusting. The core of the Rescue Ace's disruption comes from Turbulence. Its effect is set up to 4 Rescue Ace quick play spells traps from the deck. As such, the opponent would use Effect Veiler or Imperm to negate Turbulence. You'll basically summon Proxy F, use the effect to fusion summon Mud Dragon before special summoning Turbulence, activate Mud Dragon's effect, change itself to fire, making fire attributes cannot be targeted by Effect Veiler and Imperm. Yes, this extra deck options down here actually matter for this deck. That's why when we talked about the particulars of things that you want to focus on having for this, it's really good. So you see here Mud. You can actually do some pretty cool plays out here with the Heatleo as well for the recurability side of things as well. So that's something really important to understand for the value for this. And then, of course, the Proxy F here, giving you that fusion dodge that you can make. Now, the rest of this is just going to be utility options. Well, Robbie, this deck needs Max. No, it doesn't need Max C. Max C is like icing on the cake. But the thing that you're going to care about is you want to make sure that Turbulence here sets up, the set 4. And then as soon as you establish that set 4, you're just cruise controlling the rest of the game here. And then as you see down here, like, the rest of this side deck is just meant to patch holes that, you kind of bring to the table. Now, of course, the things that this deck had to deal with here are, especially Purely here, sporting off some of the Dark World shenanigans out here. You gotta love the fact that this deck is still a consistent monster at the end of the day. What are we doing down here? So there's the Grapha that they were talking about citing. Exceed Encore is still a major player in the metagame here, because they have to be able to break apart things. So this is one of the biggest problems that the Rescue Ace deck kind of has to deal with, but obviously disabling your opponent's effects is really good. Then there's also this. Runic has been disgusting out here, finishing 3rd and 4th out of 562 players with Shifter in the main deck and 7 continuous trap cards. Like, even with Skill Drain at 1, this deck is still doing things. Somebody's going to go, well, you know, like, I can't believe, you know, a deck that needs its graveyard is playing Dimension Shifter. Well, yeah, I know. This has been an upticking trend as of late with this deck here, that, you know, more defensive options are pretty much needed here. All right. And then, of course, you see some DD Dynamites down here as well. The fact that you have a card like DD Dynamite that goes, you know, you want to have a sub way to kind of close out the game. It's really important. Also, the big thing is, like, you can play underneath, like, all of these cards here can let you play underneath with Rescue Ace. So these aren't like immediate threats to you. It's just, you know, the set 4 value that you get from Rescue Ace, you kind of got to explore different option trees for in this matchup. Branded, oh boy, Fusion Duplication in the side deck. Where is it? This was a trend that we started to see kind of show up in the TCG right now, that a few branded players have been trying. Hasn't been a huge, crazy representation, but it's been something that's kind of been doing its thing. So yeah, it can be searched out by Thrust if your opponent used Ash on the Branded Fusion. Then Triple Thrust can be used for Fusion Duplication from the deck during the opponent's turn to fuse into your effect. So you could go ahead and do your thing. Keep in mind they only have 1 Branded Fusion at this stage. So yeah, and then of course there's Ido. Mathmech down here on the other hand, this deck is an OTK monster still in the OCG. There's a lot of things that you got to be aware when playing against this, obviously. The Free Spirit extenders, all the Mathmech plays, all of the little intricate pieces for this. So conclusion out here for this, alright. This is basically 2 metagames pummeled together. Rescue Ace, Purely Runic, Branded, Mathmech, and Emancipator and Tier are all still doing their thing. Not really much of a crazy mention to any of that, but that's what you're looking at here. So, Rescue Ace, if you are wanting to, you know, make sure that you have this deck right now in terms of price, unfortunately, collector's rares are still up. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. If you were trying to get max rarity for this, you've had plenty of chances. So these are $70. This is a no-go. Turbulence is also at 35s. This is bad. Hydrants also continue to disappear off the market. You've officially reached the $25 to $30 mark for these, and it just took the OCG breaking, you know, the box for this card to send this into orbit. Like, it's disgusting. You know, the next tier 1 deck's going to cost you how much money? Good news is, I mean, are these even cheap? You're looking at $100 now if you're trying to pick up copies of these things, just to make sure that you have them. Obviously, Heatleo, on the other hand, or the Salamangreat Link 2 that you play for the deck, it's not too terrible in price. I assume that there might be a possibility that it did go up because of the other particulars in the format. Yeah, the Ultra version from Battles is 35 cents. This isn't going to cost you hardly anything. Now, Proxy F. This is from OTS. These are $1 right now. These have been gaining a little bit of value for a little bit. Nice 3 cents for a common, and then the common from the tins is also 2 cents. Like, those are the things that cost, you know, about the most out here for, you know, the inclusion of this. But in terms of what you're expecting right now for this, you've had the chance to look very far down the rabbit hole. You've had the chance to see that this deck has gained a lot of popularity at this point in time, and the market price is reflecting, you know, how crazy this has been at this stage. At this point in time, I'm not surprised to see the reflection of this. And once again, people look at all this data and they go, wow, you know, like, I can't believe that this has been happening. Now, this has been happening for 2 months up to this point in time, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Players are just, they're wowed, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, this is so unfair. One, pay attention to the OCG. It will always tend to dictate a lot of things, minus a few tech choices here and there. And then upcoming decks always tend to affect the market. It's been the same pattern for the last 20 years, and it will continue to be the same pattern as long as OCG releases come first. Alright, minus, you know, TCG exclusives, but that's a story for an entirely different day. So, what do you think about everything so far? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.